Hi, and welcome to Watercolor Painting with Tanya. Today, our project is going to be a wreath. It's going to have some wildflowers. It's going to have some leaves. It's going to be very interesting. So the supplies we're going to use in our class today include a gator board. And this is actually a corrugated plastic board that I bought at my local hardware store, and I cut it to this size, and we're going to be using a 9 by 12 hot press paper today, and this paper is a 25% cotton. The higher the cotton count percentage, the higher quality the paper is. But today we're going to be using this Fabriano, and this particular one is available through Amazon. 140 pound, it's hot press, 25% cotton, and this is one of my favorites. And we're also going to be using a drafter's tape. This one also came from Amazon. It has low adhesion, so that when you use it on your project paper, it's less likely to tear your paper. So a nice draftsman tape or drafter's tape is a good use. We're also going to use a script or a liner brush today, watercolor. We're going to have a pencil. This is a number 10 flat brush. This is a 1/4 dagger brush. And our last one that we're going to use is a number 12 round. So if you don't have these exact sizes of brushes, you can make this, with this project, you can make do and get a lot done using brushes that you have. So don't feel like you can't try this project if you don't have these particular brushes. We're also going to be using Winsor Newton watercolor paint. I like the Cotman line, that's a student line that they offer. I also like the professional line of paints that they offer. And my palette is very large, as you can see. When I paint, I like to have my shades already pre-made and in the wells so that I can just use what I want. So it's up to you. If you just have a few colors, if you get the smaller version of a student Cotman line paint, I think there's about 20 different tubes of paint in that from Amazon. Those colors are perfectly fine. There's, that's absolutely fine. And if you prefer using a solid version, that's fine too. That's up to you. So, just use what you have, use what you're comfortable with. Don't feel like this project will not turn out if you don't have these exact same supplies. I will be letting you know what the colors are as I use them, and I'll try to get that in the comments for you as well. I also have a spray bottle. So what we do before we paint is spray our palette so that activates the paint, and it makes your colors a lot richer. And it seems to me it's easier to work with the paint when it's wet, and so I like it that way. And I have a small container of water, and I have this old dish towel that I've been using for quite some time, and I really like it. We're gonna get started. I've got my pencil, and we're gonna lightly trace around our drafter's tape roll. We do not want to impress the pencil too hard into our paper, because it will make a dent and the color will run into those areas, or it'll be too dark and it'll shine through on your painting, on your project. So it's just very light marks. I'm going to start out with our rigger brush or script brush, and I'm going to just get some water, and I'm going to dip into Van Dyke Brown. And I have some on my palette as well, but I'm going to be using Van Dyke Brown. I'm going to plant my pinky on my paper as I make our wreath, as I make our, the form that's gonna have our flowers and leaves on. And this helps me keep it steady. And it also helps me trail. So I'm gonna pick up some more paint, and I'm gonna make little small S's and curlies this time. And I'm gonna turn my project around. I'm gonna change up my color. This time I'm gonna put some sepia into this wreath form. And it's a little bit darker paint, darker brown. And using a variety of colors in projects, it creates depth. It creates the illusion that there are other things that are hidden in your painting that maybe, you know, are not very well seen just at first, you know, at first glance. And then it also steps up your game. It makes you look more of a professional when you, you know, you feel confident and you are incorporating a variety of colors into your projects, I think. So you can let me know what you think in the comments. I'm also gonna rinse my brush, and I'm gonna dip in to some, oops, I got the wrong color. Raw sienna is that second color. This is raw sienna here, and this is yellow ochre, so it's very close. I want yellow ochre. So I'm just gonna go back, I rinse my brush, and I'm just gonna pick up yellow ochre, and I'm just gonna put a few twigs and vines inside here, you know. Maybe this is a different kind of plant. I'm not sure what's going on with that, but I like it, so I'm gonna add it in. Okay, all right, that looks nice, I like it. So we're gonna just let this set for a moment. We do not wanna incorporate our next step, the paint, into what we've already got established on our paper. So we're gonna plan plan ahead. So with watercolor, part of learning how to paint is also learning how to plan your paintings, because what does the paint do? You know, watercolor will react to the water. It goes wherever the water is. And if you mix two different colors together, you have mixed paint. So if you wanted, say, yellow, and then the orange touches it, it's going to change the color completely. So we're gonna work on something that's going to be on the outside that's not necessarily going to touch our vines. We're going to work on our flowers, and we're going to use the first brush we're going to use is our dagger brush. I like the dagger brush, and I'm going to say that we are going to let our brush do the work for us. So it's going to work for us, and I'm going to just get some water on my brush here. And I'm going to tap in to Naples yellow. I'm going to get a fair amount of Naples yellow on my brush. And I'm going to come over here. I'm going to put my brush at an angle. I'm going to touch flatly the bristles to the paper. And I'm going to touch, press, lift. Touch, press, lift. And I need some more paint on here. Touch, press, lift. Touch, press, lift. And I'm just going to go around and make us a flower. There we go. All right, I'm going to do another one close by. This time my petals are not going to be as big. So I am putting less pressure on the brush. And so that varies the size of the petal that we're going to be putting down in our project. And then I'm going to do a smaller one over here, and I'm going to do smaller petals, lighter touches, and maybe just use like the tip of the brush. So there. Okay, so we're going to let that dry. We're going to rinse our brush. Then I'm going to set this brush aside. We're going to work with our number 10 flat brush now. I'm going to get some water just to make sure. It's just a habit in when you paint with watercolor that, you know, did I rinse this brush a while ago and I used it, you know, because you don't want to introduce any color that you didn't want into your projects. And I'm going to use some lemon yellow for this one. And I'm going to get my brush in here, get this paint mixed up inside that well. I've got a fair amount. And I'm also going to use the technique we used in the first flower. I'm going to let my brush do the work. I'm going to touch my flower down, and it's going to make a petal foot shape for us. And any of these petals that you want to try before you incorporate them into your project that you've been working on, I like to use a scrap sheet of paper, and I'll try the flower first. If I want to see, oh, I forgot what flower shape does this brush make, or do I like that color? Maybe I want to use a different color. So if you have a piece of scrap watercolor paper on the side, you can do your testing and practicing on the side. Okay, there I got one. I'm going to put some extra water in this lemon yellow. So this flower is a little bit smaller than this flower. So this is going to be our largest flower in this project. And I'm going to put another one over here, and maybe it is even slightly smaller still than the one beside of it. And this one, I kind of messed up the petals, but you know, it's okay. This is a type of project that's great for a beginner, and sometimes, to quote a famous artist, those happy accidents occur, and then we just make the best of those. So we're not going to just get upset, throw it away, start over. You know, we learned, and we're just going to move on. We might incorporate it, maybe not. All right, and then I'm turning my paper. I'm going to swap over to the round brush. This is number 12 round. I'm going to dip into some nice purple. This color is called Winsor Violet. And I do have some on my palette here, but I'm going to touch into some fresh paint. And I just put this paint on the tip of my brush. And I'm going to make small flowers on this pass. And I'm going to put them in this area over here with these little twigs that are coming off here. These are going to be small flowers. I'm going to tip my brush lightly and lightly. So yeah, here we go. I like the way those look. All right, I need to pick up some more paint. So you don't have to touch, your petals don't have to touch. We'll put centers in our flowers. And I'm going to make these odd numbers. So I'm just going to turn my board around here. And I'm going to add, let's see, do I want another one? I think I do. I think I want some over here. So I'm going to add okay, maybe one up here. That's a small one. And maybe a small one down here. Okay, I think that's pretty good. Sometimes you don't need an exact petal shape, but just the indication that there's something there. You're not quite sure what it is, but you know, it kind of makes the painting interesting for the people who are viewing your paintings. It helps it become interactive with your audience. All right, I am going to use some cad orange. Give me some water in here. It looks kind of dry. And also just on the tip, and I may have gotten too much water, so a trick that you can use, and you learn this over time as being an artist, but I'm going to take off some of the water off the top part of my brush, this area here, because I had too much on there. And I'm going to make some interesting little shapes this time. These are going to be small, almost like a dot. there's going to be a little bit of pressure, and I'm going to create these long flowers. They look like that. We don't know what our names are for our flowers. We just are going for the general shape of flowers that we know that are in nature. And they may not look exactly like they are in nature, but we're not really going for realism. You know, we're going for representation. And you're doing that. Like, how do you remember that the wildflowers look? We know that there are some that have very small flower petals, and some that don't, some that have large ones. Okay, and I think I need some red, so I'm going to go into CAD red. I'm going to make it, so in this area right here, you know, I have orange. This kind of blends really, really well. So red lends itself well with purple, and I think it does anyway. So you let me know in the comments what you think. I'm also going to do very small, very, very small petals with my red. And I'm going to have to rotate this quite a bit. And I will caution you, because we have wet paint now. We have wet paint all around our circle. So as you are working, you want to be mindful. Maybe plant your pinky in the middle so that it'll hold your place a little better, so you're less likely to accidentally touch into some wet paint and, you know, cause a little mess. You know, you can always adjust those little happy accidents as they were, but sometimes it's better just, you know, be aware, maybe don't have the accident. Okay, so I'm just going to tap in, like that petal is kind of off. Yeah, this one, yeah, okay. All right, I like this. And then I'm filling it maybe some berries in here. So let's see. I'm going to go in over here. This is Quinacdridone magenta, and it's a nice color. I'm going to use the opposite end of my script brush. I'm going to dip it into the paint. So I have paint on the end. Then I'm going to come over. I'm going to make some dots. And these are going to be little berries. And I'm just going to touch some in here, maybe some over here, and just random. There we go. Not too many, just a couple. Okay, so we have a good variety. We still have to add in our leaves, and we need to add in the centers of our flowers. If you tip your project like this, you can see that it kind of catches the light and it glistens. Those flowers that glisten, they catch the light. Those are still wet. So we want to make sure we don't touch those because we're going to blend colors, you know, if we do touch on those. So we're going to work on our leaves now and try not to touch our flowers and give that a little bit more time to dry so that we could follow back up with our centers on our flowers. So I've got my number 12 round brush, and I'm going to get my piece of paper, my scrap paper, if you will, and I'm going to practice first. I'm going to pick up some sap green. That's one of my favorite colors for all things greenery. And I'm going to touch, and I have a nice leaf. I don't have that much paint on my. Okay, so I'm going to try again. So touch, press, lift. Too much water. So see, it's good we're practicing here, right? And then I'm going to try again. Still too much water. I'm going to reload my brush. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to pick up some paint. Pretty good. Yeah, that is really good. Okay. Yeah, so there we go. So this is a perfect example of why scrap paper is, you know, is so important. So I'm picking up some more sap green, and I'm going to go over here and I'm going to add in some green leaves to this purple. And I'm going to do just the very small tip of my brush. These leaves are not really big because the flowers aren't too big, right? So we don't want our leaves bigger than our flowers. Maybe that one is, that one's not. And we're going to tap in, create some interest, and tuck one over here. You can't really see that one all the way, right? Because it's tucked in behind a vine. We're going to tuck some in. Maybe that one has 2 leaves on that branch. And there we go. So that looks really nice. I like this. Okay. So now I'm going to roll around to go to the Naples yellow that we did. And I'm going to make some larger leaves this time. And I'm going to pick up just a touch of Payne's Gray, and I'm going to mix it in, and it just slightly changes the shade of our green. So I'm touching all my brush down. I made a big leaf. I'm going to make a smaller one beside it. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to tuck one in. I'm going to tuck in here, in here. There's one. There's one. And just kind of tuck it in. Maybe they came out all the way over here. I'm going on either side of the vine. I'm alternating my brush. And maybe there's some in here too. There's small ones in there, okay? So we're gonna add some more into this, some leaves into this yellow area. And also, since we're by our dots, they're really wet though, so do not touch your dots, okay? Those are berries, but we don't want to touch them. So I'm going to come in here and I made a touch of water. And I'm going to touch down. So these are a little bit smaller than the ones that we did. Just a few seconds ago. And then I like that. Okay, I'm going to go this direction. I'm going to turn again. And then we just tap them in. Okay, then I'm going to pick up another little touch of our Payne's Gray, and I'm going to come in here and I'm going to add some leaves. I'm just going to kind of squiggle it, and just a few, nothing elaborate, you know, just a little few, just to darken it up, just a touch, just to add some dimension into this area. You don't want any one area to be heavier than the other one. Okay, so let's take a look, and I'm thinking maybe our red, possibly we can work in that area now. We're going to make these really small, so I'm going to use just the tip for these leaves, and they're going to be here and there, this way and that way. Maybe they're sticking out on that little vine that's coming out from her wreath. Maybe there's some over here. Okay, then we're going to roll around. We have one area left to work on with leaves, and this area I'm going to use a different brush. I am going to include some vines to connect those, because they kind of look like they're just kind of hanging out in the air, right? So we're going to get our script. I'm going to pick up some of that sap green, and I'm going to come in, and I'm just going to touch up to the base. Now I'm not going to do all of them. I'm just going to put the indication that there's something going on in there, and they're attached. They're not just floating in the air. And then I'm going to do leaves. I'm going to touch with the tip and see how the leaves, they are a different shape. You know, we're using the same technique, but these leaves, because the size of the bristles, are definitely tiny. So we're going to tuck some in here. Maybe there's one that kind of hangs out a little bit. Makes it a little interesting. You know, this one kind of came over this way a little. All right. So we're gonna try to attach these a little, put some little vines in there to make sure they don't look like they're just hanging in there also. And you don't need too much, you know, you just are looking for indications that these are, you know, one whole plant. And then, okay, so I'm looking around. I really like what we have here. It's got some really nice interest. And I have a variety of sizes, large, medium, small. I have a variety of sizes. I have a variety of colors. We use a different techniques in each one. And then over here with our berries, I'm also going to I'm going to see that they I want them to seem like they are more attached. So I'm touching into this yellow ochre. And I'm just going to tap in around, not really so much on, but just kind of around. I might make some leaves, you know, just some little doodads in here, you know. There we go. Okay, I kind of like that. All right, so we are going to very carefully add centers into our flowers now. And I like to use mainly yellow and brown. Those are my two favorite centers to use, but you can use what you like. I'm going to use the end of my brush, and I'm going to dip in to some of this Van Dyke brown because it's not too dark. And then I'm going to come into the Naples yellow. I'm just going to do a dot. I just kind of want a solid. And if it's a little slightly off, it's a little slightly off. And then I'm going to wipe my brush off. I'm going to let that sit. Then I'm going to come over to the sepia. It's a little bit darker. And I'm going to touch in. I'm going to do tiny dots for this, if I can. And maybe there's a dot right there. Okay. And then I'm going to scroll around. I'm going to go over here. We don't need centers for our orange ones, but we do need centers for our purples. And I like to add the lemon yellow. That's one of my favorites, and to mix together the purple and the yellow. To me, that's a good representation of nature. And then I just like it. So I'm just going to add some yellow in here, not too much. You know, you just kind of play it by ear how you want your finished project to look. And then with the red, you can do orange. I like to do orange, and I have just a touch. To me, red and orange are those two colors too that they just look good together. And you can also put yellow. Sometimes I use orange and yellow on my red flowers. So I think our project for today is finished. When you are to that point where you think your project is finished, you let it set for a few hours. And then maybe tomorrow you want to come in and add a couple more leaves. And that is definitely up to you because you are the creator. So you can make it how you like it. So I'm going to sign our project. And after it dries, on the back, I will write my name, the day I painted this, and it's a watercolor project. And then I like to give mine a name. So let me know what you name yours in the comments. Thank you for painting with me today, and I look forward to painting with you in the future.